and welcome to Truth in Texas Banking. I'm Lavonda Renfro, and with me today is my co-host, Beth Stavinoha. Hey, Beth.
Hey, Lavonda.
Well, today it's going to be an exciting day because today we're talking about all things golf.
Mark your calendar. April 24th through 27th is our Veritex Bank Championship that's taking place in Arlington, Texas at the Texas Rangers Golf Course. And that is the focus of today's Truth in Texas Banking podcast. And Lavonda, we have some great guests with us today.
Oh, my gosh. Well, we are joined by one of our teammates, Beth, Matt Sawicki. Matt Sawicki is our VP of Sports Management at Veritex Community Bank. And we're also joined by Richie Sapp, who is the tournament director for the BCB Sport 5. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Always good to be on with you.
Yeah, it's great. So, Richie, we had a little pre-talk about, kids and golf and things like that. So tell us a little bit about yourself first, and a little bit about how you got involved in the championship.
No, absolutely. I appreciate you both having us on today. I'm excited to talk all things golf and Veritex. But yeah, a few years ago, I transitioned out of the Air Force and decided to follow my passion for sports and marketing. Golf has always been something that I wanted to pursue as a career, and I'm fortunate enough at Sport 5 to work at a company that does all things golf the same way Veritex does. So we run events, we manage talent, we consult on the marketing side. So I found my home at Sport 5 back in 2021 and has been with the company ever since. And the opportunity to take on the Veritex Bank Championship as one of the events in our portfolio came across a couple years ago. And because I was in market and was already working on the golf side of the business, I was able to get pulled in and fortunate enough to be working on our second event now together. So thanks for having me.
Hey, Matt, got to know about you too.
Well, I like to joke with people that I started working in the boardroom when I was 12 years old. And I say that because that's when I started caddying. And so started being around CEOs at a really young age. Loved the game of golf. That's what ultimately paid for college, was caddying. And so as I was finishing up school, trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life, was fortunate enough to land a job with the United States Golf Association and stayed there in various capacities for 17 years. Got to know our CEO, Malcolm Holland, and a couple of our board members fairly well through the USGA. And that's ultimately led me here to Veritex. And I'm so fortunate to get to do what we do when we talk about the values of the game and how they define our company. It's enjoyable to be a part of that.
That's awesome.
Great. Well, we're glad you're both here. This is going to be an exciting time. I know a lot of work goes into putting on a big golf tournament like this. So before we get into all the specifics of that, can you tell us a little bit about what our viewers and listeners can expect that week, whether they come as a spectator? And for a lot of people, this will be the first time they've been to a golf tournament. This is the only Corn Ferry tournament in Texas, as I understand it. So that's exciting. But what can you expect as a spectator? And also, what if you want to get involved as a volunteer? I'm assuming there's still opportunities for that, correct? And Richie, we'll start with you.
Awesome. I think what makes our tournament special, different, and candidly really enjoyable is the access to golf. And what I mean by that is the flow around the course. You get up and close and you can watch these guys play golf. And the beauty of the Corn Ferry Tour is you may not know the guy's name that you're watching play, but he looks like a pro, he walks like a pro, and they go, and the way they play the course is phenomenal. So you're watching these guys hit shots that you'd see at a PGA Tour event. You just may not recognize their name. And I think that's part of the fun of it, is that, you'll watch somebody and then in a year from then, you'll be watching them at the top of the leaderboard on a PGA Tour event. It's a really fantastic opportunity to learn who the up-and-coming stars are in the sport of golf. And it's a really fun and easy way to do it. You just don't have to deal with quite as much traffic or lines, despite our attendance expectations this year being higher than ever. The reality is, you can move about the course and watch and see and do just about anything you want to do out there. We've got fan-friendly prices at concessions. We've got tons of activities for folks that may not even be familiar with golf or have never thought to go to a golf tournament before, and really proud of that. So we'll have a vibrant fan zone for something for anybody. If you've never even touched a golf club, it's a great place to come do that, right? Veritex Bank will have a drive box, a mobile simulator where if you've never even hit a ball before, you're safe inside that space to go and try it for the first time. And I think it's a really nice branded touch point that'll resonate with anybody, whether you're a golfer or not. On the volunteer side, absolutely, we will continue to recruit volunteers all throughout the year. We've got a really vibrant community. The bank does a tremendous job showing their support for the event through volunteerism. It's a great way to come meet new friends, interact with the golf tournament in a way that maybe you've never done before. We'll actually have volunteers that'll go inside the ropes. I can't even do that. So the volunteering is a huge part of, I think, the bank experience from what I've gathered over a short time. And for the benefit to the tournament and to the community, it's tremendous. I think that you'll come out, meet new people. You'll meet some folks that have been volunteering at our tournament. We've got folks going on 5 years now, which is amazing. Some of which are from the bank, and some are just passionate folks within the local North Texas community that really enjoy what they do. We've got legitimately professional marshals, professional walking scorers, folks that have done it at the PGA Tour level and across all the different events. And it's really an honor to be able to host them every week.
That's great. And Matt, what role does Veritex play in this championship that week?
Yeah, I mean, I think Richie hit the nail on the head with so many of the things he said, but let's call it out right now. It's going to be great springtime weather that we always experience here in North Texas, right? And so I just add to what he said. Look, when you go to an NBA game, when you go to an NHL game, you can't sit right there within an arm's length of the players unless you're one of the few privileged people who gets those courtside seats. You go to a golf tournament, you're walking outside in an awesome environment. It's like being outside in a beautiful park. And again, all that's between you and the next best players in the world is a thin piece of rope. And so for anybody who wants to learn the game, experience the game, or just enjoy time outside, there's no better way to do that. And especially at this level, Richie talked about it. You can get up close and to all the players, to all the action in a way that you can't do necessarily at a PGA Tour event where you've got 30,000 people there with you. And so that's a really cool part of this tournament. In terms of Veritex's participation, we talk about this being a community event. We're a community bank. This is a community-based event. Richie talked about all the volunteerism that goes into it. It's really exciting to see our employees out there. And we have more than 100 of our own employees out there volunteering in a variety of capacities. And so this is about spotlighting North Texas. It's about the journey story, that narrative that we tell as part of our golf programming and why we support the game, values, community journey. It's an opportunity for us to provide an outlet for these players who are in the developmental stage of their career to get exposure, to have an opportunity to fulfill their dreams on the PGA Tour. And really, the only way to do that is to start at the Korn Ferry level and to go up from there. And for some of our players, it's actually coming back down to that Korn Ferry level, recharging their career so they can rejoin their friends and that career fulfillment up at the PGA Tour level.
Yeah, that's great. It's interesting, Matt, what you said just a couple of minutes ago. I just want to kind of talk a little bit more about that. At Veritex, we have over 25 players on various levels of golf. And I wanted to just talk a little bit about, our why. We talk about in this podcast a lot, people with a purpose. Well, there's a purpose behind, our interest in golf. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, it starts with values, Lavonda, right? Truth, transparency, and integrity are our bank values. Those are the same values you talk about in terms of the game of golf. You layer on top of that the idea of hard work, effort, discipline, the idea that in the game of golf, you're actually calling penalties on yourself. Yeah. All of those traits lead into that value structure that is Veritex Community Bank and our ideal values. Then we talk about the community aspect, and we support organizations that build community through the game. I think about our involvement with the Jordan Spieth Foundation, the I Am a Golfer Foundation at Cedar Crest. These are all organizations that Veritex takes part in their mission, their effort, and supporting them, and they're ultimately bettering our North Texas communities as well. And then finally, there's the journey piece of it, right? Mm-hmm. And so we're supporting players even at the junior level through our support of the North Texas, South Texas PGA, Byron Nelson Jr. tournament. We're supporting junior golf at its highest level. And then as players get into college, as they enter the professional ranks, we're there to support them as well. And so when you think about even a person or a business's financial journey, it's kind of relevant in that same way to a player story, right? Which is, it's not all straight to the top for everyone, right? There's a junior stage, there's a developmental stage, there's highs, there's lows. And I think what you see with each of our purpose-driven players, they've experienced that, and Veritex has been there on the journey with them throughout. So when you combine all that together, it's a wonderful story to tell about why we support the game and why it helps define who we are.
Right. Mm-hmm. Love it.
Excellent. I love it too. It's exciting. So let's talk about some of those players that we might see. Richie, why don't you tell us some of the notable players that will be at the Veritex Bank Championship? And then Matt, why don't you follow up and talk about some of the ambassadors that Veritex Bank represents that we'll be able to see that week?
Absolutely. We will be hosting, Matt kind of spoke to it, right? Folks that have played, won on the PGA Tour, all the way to folks that are coming straight out of college and are competing at the next highest level for them. It is talent that you, again, may not know right off the top of your head or recognize. Maybe you remember the name from a college event that guy had won, right? Scott, I think of the Scotty Schefflers of the world, who was a 2019 Korn Ferry Tour graduate and is now the #1 player in the world, undisputed, and is also from this local community. Personally, I'm excited to watch Kyle Westmoreland play. He is a fellow veteran, Air Force Academy graduate, former PGA Tour player. He's one of the longest hitters in all of professional golf, and he's going to come back this year and compete. We're so excited to host him, and a handful of Veritex sponsored players will be there as well, and I'll let Matt speak to those gentlemen.
Yeah, it's really interesting. 86% of the players that are currently on the PGA Tour have come from the Korn Ferry Tour. And so whether that's Scotty, Will Zalatoris, Sahith Theegala, all of those guys are graduates of the Korn Ferry Tour. So it really is the true pathway. When you think about the Veritex players that are going to be there, let's lead off with the guy who's won this tournament twice, and that's Tyson Alexander. Now, he has a chance to win this for the third time, which is a bit of a dubious achievement. It's kind of like having the most home runs in the minor leagues in baseball, the old Crash Davis from Bull Durham. But we love Tyson, love to see him. He seems to perform well here in Texas. But then there's Pearson Coody, there's Austin Smothering, guys who are going back and forth between the PGA Tour and the Korn Ferry Tour. Mitchell Meisner, who's played in this 3 times. Cooper Dossie, who's a Baylor grad. Cole Sherwood is a rookie this year on the Korn Ferry Tour. Just graduated from Vanderbilt last year. He's had an awesome year. He's already top 20 on the Korn Ferry Tour through 6 events this season. So there's so many players. And let's talk again about our players and that tie to Texas. These are all players who've either been born, raised, or went to school here in the state of Texas. And so whether or not you're a UT fan, an A&M fan, an SMU fan, whether or not you just love people who are here in Dallas or are from Houston and you want to show that support, that's who our Team Veritex players are, as they all connect to community through university, hometown, or just now being a Texas resident.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's funny because you guys have both traveled a lot. You see a lot of things around. So I'm always interested in what kind of stories the players have, a fun story. And Matt, I'm going to let you talk first, since we had Richie just a second ago. But I have a couple of fun stories from our tournaments. But Matt, do you have any fun stories about our players that you can tell on our podcast?
Gosh, that I can tell.
Yeah.
Still recording, Matt.
Exactly.
Here's the thing about professional golf tournaments is it's a traveling circus, right? The circus comes to town for the week, and you never know quite what's going to happen. I think what's fun is when the guys talk about the competitive aspect and how much is on the line with every single putt or every single shot. And so when it comes down to that final putt on 18, and a guy's got to make that, that makes or breaks their ability to go to the next level at the PGA Tour. And so, when I think of that, I think of somebody like Ryan Palmer, who's on the PGA Tour now, and a story he told in Houston the other night about grinding over at what was the time the Hooters Tour. It's changed names, but it was a developmental tour back then. And how he learned to win on that tour, and how winning on that tour ultimately propelled his career forward. And he talks about it, that if he didn't learn to win at that stage, he would have never learned to win and become a 4-time winner on the PGA Tour. And so I think that's the part you see is these guys who are out there who are doing this for a living, who are trying to make it to that ultimate dream of theirs on the PGA Tour, and they're grinding to do that. A fun story from last year, a guy named Will Chandler played in our event, and he Monday qualified. And I met Will the Sunday before. He was out practicing, trying to get ready. He flew to Dallas from Atlanta, not knowing to play one round of golf to try and qualify for the tournament. I'd never seen the golf course. It's blazing hot out there. And what's he do? He gets it done. He comes to the tournament. He's short on practice rounds because, again, remember, he had to qualify on Monday to get into the tournament. So he only gets 2 practice rounds, and that second practice round is cut short because it's a Pro-Am day. So now he's really only seen the golf course one time in its entirety. The guy goes out and he top 25s. That gets him into the next week's event. He goes on a tear, makes it into the Korn Ferry Tour playoffs, which gets him into Q School. He finishes top 5 in Q School and earns his PGA Tour card.
Wow.
It all started in Dallas, Texas, Sunday, standing on the range, saying hello, making it happen one day, making it happen for 4 days later in the week. Those are the types of stories, those are the types of people you meet that makes it all worth coming and learning about these guys.
That's awesome. I remember that a little bit. Yeah. Richie, how about you?
I just remember watching LeCom the week before our event last year and seeing everyone was tracking Miles Russell. I don't know if y'all remember. So he ends up doing a very similar thing, top 25, which got him a start at the Veritex Bank Championship. And it wasn't anything that he necessarily said, but it was a joke that I remember making last year about it, was that's one less parking spot that I have to worry about in the clubhouse. Well, if he's back this year, right, I mean, we're going to have to get him a parking spot because he was 15 at the time, and I think he'll be driving now that he's 16. So we'll see what happens in LeCom before us.
That's awesome.
That is so exciting. So this tournament brings in a lot of people from out of town, a lot of locals from North Texas who want to come, or just from around the state of Texas that love golf. So can you talk about the impact that it makes on the local business community, and then also how we give back to the community through this particular tournament?
Absolutely. I think that's probably a question for me first. We are very, very community focused as a tournament. I think if you look across, we're still one of the newer Korn Ferry Tour events that's currently on the schedule, right? There's 26. And so I think what we as a tournament are trying every single day to do is to be present in the community 365, and especially during tournament week. So for my job, whether it's finding a local vendor to work with to keep that economic impact local, all the way to our community partners. I think about the local scholarships that we're raising for Folds of Honor, and really showing and using our tournament as a platform to raise awareness and scholarship funds for fallen and wounded soldiers' families. I think that when you look at Folds of Honor and what they're doing, aligning themselves with golf for a lot of the same reasons that Veritex does with the key kind of identity, culture type things, truth, transparency, integrity, right? Like Folds of Honor is a great partner of ours who are doing absolutely incredible things for first responder and military families all over the country, but specifically in North Texas, where this is one of their biggest chapters. So for us to be able to be a part of that is fantastic. I think it's awesome that on Friday we'll really take a step back and let Folds of Honor shine on that day. So you'll see a lot of red, white, and blue at our tournament to pay homage to those who have given the ultimate sacrifice, but also to remind ourselves that there's things that we can be doing every day to be proud of our country and to be proud of what these folks are doing every single day, and just knowing that in the back of their head, if the worst thing were to happen, that an organization like Folds of Honor is there to step in and support their family long term. So
absolutely,
we're excited to really support them this year in a meaningful way.
That's
awesome. Exciting. That's wonderful. Matt, do you have anything to add to that?
I mean, how do you add on to what Richie just said? I mean, it's so impactful. But when you think about the give backs, and we've talked about volunteerism, right? When you have more than 300 people volunteering, and each one giving more than 8 to 10 hours of their time to do it, that's a lot of volunteer hours that add up. And then there's the other groups that have engaged in this tournament in the past, whether it be the Boys and Girls Club of Tarrant County, the Rise School, the I Am a Golfer Foundation. All of those groups have participated in some way. And then you layer on top of that the Arlington Chamber of Commerce, who's just been a wonderful partner and engaged in so many ways to bring all of the businesses associated with that entity out. It's going to have a vibrant feel. And with that, you're just going to see a lot of people who are really proud of this place where they live, having it in their backyard and rallying around something that again, as the tour goes nationwide, it's something we all here in Texas can be proud of.
Yeah, that's so great. Well, Matt, Richie, thank you both so much for being with us today. I love that, golf has a purpose, and that this podcast is about that, having a purpose. So thank you both for sharing all your stories with us, and we look forward to the event. So, Beth?
All right. Thank you all. This has been a great conversation. I'm excited. And you're right. It's going to be great weather, Matt. It always is. It's springtime in Texas. I mean, what else can you expect, right? So if you would like more information on the Veritex Bank Championship, you can go to, this is easy, veritexbankchampionship.com. And of course, we mentioned a lot of the Veritex Bank golf ambassadors that we sponsor. If you want to learn more about who Veritex sponsors and some tidbits about those players, you can go to veritexbank.com, go to the About Us section, and of course, select what else? Golf. Thanks so much for being with us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.